All right. Welcome back to Happy Hour with Heather and Guest. Today we're joined by Sara Whizbanger.
Yay.
So good to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. I think the last time I was on your show was it 2 years ago?
Uh,
It may have been.
Years, two
Yeah,
or three. It was two or it definitely wasn't last year. two
Yeah,
years or
yeah,
3 years.
I think
Yeah.
it was two or three. Um,
yeah.
but yes,
It's been a while. It's
it
been a
Yeah,
has.
while. Yeah, too long.
too long. Of course, we chat all the time, but me and Heather. Yeah. I need to have
Well,
your I need to get you back on the Whizbanger show. I have some plans that you guys might be interested in, so we'll talk about
oh,
that.
okay. That sounds awesome. Yeah, and you've recently, it seems like you've recently, revamped and brought back the Whizbanger show. And so
Yes.
looks like it's up and running again, which is really exciting. And you have your email. Your email is awesome. The with
Oh, the newsletter, the
the
Banger
banger.
Blast.
Yeah, that's really awesome, and it looks like you put a lot of time into that.
Thank you.
So
Girl.
I was really impressed.
Wait, I have a question. Did you do the crossword puzzle?
No.
You need to do it. You like Doom, so do it. It's a Doom crossword. I made it myself. It was super fun.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'll give it a shot.
All right.
So the
I have
whiz
my own.
bangers.
Now the other one's a secret. I don't want to spill the beans.
Okay. So the Whiz Banger Show, you have it on SoundCloud, and you can
Yes,
also get to it thewhizbangershow.com.
that's right.
So what are you doing now that's different from how you were doing it before?
Not terribly different, just more dialed in. I mean, I was at MMH, the radio station out of Birmingham, England, which I left on very good terms and totally cool with all those awesome people. And I encourage everybody to go check it out because it's so awesome. It's great DJs. The reason I left was I really wanted to just like not have it any limitations at all, even if it was like a time limitation. And the station now, they want to have DAB, which is like regular radio. I just didn't. I don't care about that. I don't want to do it, and nobody would listen to my show. It's like very, I don't think it's the audience for me. Like I just don't think it's the audience for me, and it's limit. It's limiting. So I think the Banger Blast is different. I'm starting to do videos, which I'm doing extremely reluctantly, but I'm doing them because the kids like them, so that's cool. And but I'm still doing just about a 2-hour show regularly every week. I really wanted to get the website launched because I had to figure out a way to brand myself or brand the show rather. And so I took a few months off of doing the show, and I just really wanted to I needed a break, but I also realized that I went from doing a radio show to doing a radio show. And I'm so used to that format that I needed some time to think about like, well, what else could I be doing? And so it's still, kind of a radio format, music. I come on and talk, play music, come on and talk. And that's going to stay the same. I've added, the Banger Blast. And so the Banger Blast will come up, every 3 to 4 weeks, roughly. I'll have a little, couple of paragraphs, a little blog, whatever, Bandcamp codes, which I've already got a ton now. And then also free things on Bandcamp or like download for free, which really you should not. You should give people their money because they work their asses off for the art. But name your price, basically. So I have some name your price picks. And then it'll be like, this year in Banger history. So what did I do a year? What show was I doing a year ago or 2 years ago or whatever? And then like whoever I've picked for the Banger was Bangers of the Week, those kinds of things. And then the added thing I'm doing is I've got a YouTube channel, Whizbanger Show, and there's not a whole lot of content on there right now, but I am going to start doing interviews. whatever that was. I'm going to start doing interviews. I had one and I had to cancel it, but I'm just going to do like, 10, 15-minute segments with folks, with bands, with PRs, things like that. And so that's going to be separate. So when I had you on the show, Heather, you did like a co-host show with me, which is what I've always done, which I still want to do because they're fun, but not everybody has time to do it. It's a big commitment. It's a couple hours out of your day at least. And, sometimes it works out great. Actually, it's always worked out great, the ones that I've done, but it is like a time suck. And so you're one of the people, but I've often heard from people like, I don't have that kind of time. Can I do, what about something shorter? And I just didn't have the format for doing that, but that's going to be something that I'm going to be doing going forward. So just like 15, 20 minute, I've got a huge, massive bank of questions that I'm just going to pick from that I've developed and go from there. So content on the YouTube channel for the Whizbanger show, more email interaction with folks, not so much social media. Like I'll always, kind of push the podcast, but I really want to like move away from that as much as possible and have more engagement with people through email, through the Banger Blast, things like that. So.
Yeah, people are always talking about the different social media platforms and how the algorithm is always changing, and it's hard. Sometimes it's really hard to get your stuff seen by people.
It's impossible. Yeah. And it doesn't, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it does kind of seem like email is kind of more the way to go. And I'm really impressed. Like email is something that I really struggle with. And so my gosh, if you can send out an email every 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks,
yeah.
And that the content that you have in your email is just phenomenal. So I definitely give you props for that.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah. And I get a lot of, every time I send out a playlist, so I send out playlists for every show that I do to the labels and PRs, the band contact. I don't always have a contact for the bands, but whenever I do, and I always get a response back, and I get responses from those, that first Banger Blast that went up. I got a accolade from Substack. It was like I broke not a record, but like I stood out because apparently like it was one of the most opened. It's something like that. I don't know. It had like a huge percentage. It was like almost like 80 some odd % of people that
open rate.
Opened it. Yeah, open rate. Wow. Thank you.
Wow.
I know, right? Like that's massive. And so I thought that was really cool. Of course, I'm not spamming people. People have to like sign up for it. I thought about just spamming everybody, but I'm like, let me just let people. So anybody that gets a Banger Blast is getting it because they signed up for it. I'm not just putting people on there. Although it was tempting to do that. A couple of people asked me to do it because they're like, I can't just put me on there. I'm like, all right, cool. But yeah, so I mean, I'm sure that's why people are opening it because they asked for it. So. But I would like to do more of that and just less social media.
Yeah,
I'd rather spend an hour in my email talking to people than an hour on social media trying to talk to them.
Yeah. I think making the videos is a really good idea, and putting them up on YouTube. I think that's definitely if you can hack that platform, oh boy, you'll be doing really well.
Yeah. Oh, and I am trying, and I'm Curtis from C Squared Music, Curtis Dewar, and I have been talking a lot about figuring out a way to like get my podcast out there. And I guess there's some changes with Spotify. So there is a Spotify for podcasters. And so I think I'm going to try it and just, I just don't want to get hit with these fines, but they're starting to change. Like someone, Keefe, who does the, what's his podcast? Ghost Cult Magazine. He had me on his podcast, and then he and I, we became pals, and so we talk now fairly often. And he was saying that he thinks that there's actually going to, like, they're starting to realize on Spotify that like people actually want their music shared on
Yeah.
podcasts. I mean, especially for people that like Mr. Weirdbeard on More Fuzz and mine and other people that have, like, we focus on underground stuff. Like, these people want to, they need to be on Spotify. So we need to be able to feature them on Spotify. So I'm really hoping that I can do that. And, that's my goal, is to just have people be able to have access to the show on different platforms, streaming platforms.
Yeah. 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 And I saw one thing on your Instagram that kind of caught my attention, and it
Uh-oh.
says that you're a practicing Stoic.
I
And
am.
that's one thing that you and Andrew have in common. So, Andrew,
That's my segue.
that's
So
your
we just spent the
segue.
rest of the time talking about
We
stoicism.
we,
That's
we
fine.
could we easily could. Um, yeah, I did, Heather. I was not prepared at all.
But you know what? Stoicism would tell you that you don't need to be.
Yeah, well, I do sometimes um, bring up some really obscure tangents when we talk about music. Um, I think, yeah, I mean, you can certainly use the one of the hallmarks of knowing what's in your control and what's out of your control. It seems like with a lot of what you're trying to do, there are going to be a lot of things that break your way that you can manipulate, and other things you just sort of have to let it happen the way it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is, I'm a stoic and I'm not going to be on a radio station. Like, that was, but it was like, the idea of like removing the things that you can get out of your way. Like, if you can, get rid of them. And that was really how I came to that decision of just deciding to go rogue and just go independent, because I know it's a risk. I'm sure I lost a couple of listeners, but honestly, you guys, like, nobody listened to my show. They all listened to the podcast version of it. It's just I had like a lot of downloads and very few active listeners, right? Because people don't listen. The people that listen to my show, it's like that's not necessarily like the venue for them, right? So, yeah, but I think like the thing with stoicism is, looking at like what's in your way. And some of that stuff you can't remove, but if you can, it's not like everything in my life has to serve me. But I do think that, because I mean, if I thought that way, then like I would never have any opportunities like this one, right? You just assume you know everything. But I think like stoicism has definitely helped me transition in like everything in my life, because when I feel myself getting worked up about something or nothing, usually it's nothing, then I just kind of tap into that and consider what's in that moment. What can I control? What matters? I mean, I think the question of what matters is sometimes more important, at least to me, than what I can control. Because I think if I think too much about what I can and cannot control, then I miss out on things that matter, because I might be able to control something that matters, and that I might try to control it, and maybe that's not the best thing for that thing.
I actually had a question. So, most of the music that you're featuring is from the underground. Um,
Yes.
do you do you accept submissions from bands? Do you spend the time trying to cultivate your playlist by yourself? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, bands reach out to me all the time. And I feel so bad because I just, I took a break and I didn't really get to my email. And now I have like, I'm down to, I think, 1,200 emails to go through. And there are definitely a couple bands and I was like, yeah, I'll definitely play you. Thanks. And it gets like buried. So I always tell people, anybody listening to this, don't just reach out to me once, reach out to me until you get a response. And then if if you need to keep reaching out, do it. Like people can't bug me enough. I will be like, that's not a good fit for the show. Let me try and send it to somebody else, which I do all the time. And that's a definitive answer and we're done. But, there's a couple bands that sent me stuff and I said I would play it and then I forgot about it because it just got buried. And I wish they had just like bugged me more, but I think people don't want to do that. So I do my best to try and I always respond. It sometimes just takes me a long time because it is just me, which is the answer to your other question. Yeah, I'm all alone. Someone actually asked me if I had an assistant, anybody helping me with the Whizbanger show. I'm like, no. I don't even know how that would work because I don't have a predictable taste. People will be like, oh, I think you'll love this band, and I won't at all. Or the opposite, like, oh, I heard this band on your show. They were really great. Oh, you like that band? Oh, I'm surprised. So I would just take that as like never have the ability to have an assistant or anybody to help me. But yeah, I do. I curate all my own playlists. Like real quick, my process is like I go through my email. I have multiple playlists always going, like in my Google Drive. And so, I have a stoner one, a doom one, a grindcore, whatever, power metal, bands that I don't want to miss because they'll just get buried in my hard drive and I won't remember them. Stuff that I know I really want to play. So I'm always adding to those, and then I check my email. I go through my email daily. I try to spend about a half hour, 45 minutes every day. It's usually a lot longer, but I try to just limit it so I don't get too buried in that. And I go through everything. I go through everything, whether it's a promo from, a PR or label, or it's a direct contact. A lot of bands contact me through Instagram, which I wish they wouldn't do because Instagram is like the interface for messaging it's not very good. And so I do really wish people would just email me, just, reach me that way. But yeah, so I curate all my playlists, all of them, and bands do reach out to me.
Yeah, it seems like over the years you've kind of gotten your own, little community going.
I think so.
Yeah. So.
Of which you're a part, and I'm very grateful.
Thank you. We're grateful too.
Although sometimes I'm like, I don't always get like we have a lot of the same bands on our roster. So I'll look at your emails. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to get anything from these guys yet again because I already know about all these bands. But it's cool, It's like it's just another an avenue of support for artists, which I love that, that
yeah.
Because someone told someone. And so I'm working with a PR, and they told me that a couple of people refused to have me on their podcast. They're like, "Fuck that! She's a competition." And I'm like, I know I should take that as a compliment, but I don't at all. It made me really sad because I think that's just like the worst thing we can possibly do for like if our values, our core values, and our goals and our missions are to showcase bands that wouldn't otherwise have much of an avenue for being heard, then like that just seems completely against those values and those missions that I think we share.
There's room for both of our shows out there.
Exactly. I mean, and it's a different, when I engage with your thing, I'm like sitting here at my laptop. I watch it. No one's watching me. They're listening to me. It's just like a different, I don't know. You guys have a different, totally different thing.
Yeah. And I think we're kind of on the same, I think our, what we believe is the same pretty much. And we both have platforms to try to shine a light on bands, and I don't see any reason why we can't all support each other.
Yeah, we definitely.
Well, there's always going to be overlap in terms of the artists because we're drawing from the same pool. But I don't think the perspective Heather has is going to be similar to yours or
So.
mine, in terms of like how we go about it. So yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we're talking to you right now is because I think we all are on the same team. And as you just mentioned, the goal is to, provide an opportunity for bands that normally wouldn't get it, who deserve to be heard. So I think that's a wonderful thing, however it happens.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had it. So this is a new. I mean, you're picking up the mantle for the show again. It's going to be a bit of a difference because you're no longer with the radio show who you were with previously. So if you were,
I left sorry. I
okay,
left MMH actually a year ago,
okay,
almost exactly. So I was already not, I had
gotcha.
already left MMH before I took a break from doing the Whizbanger show. Yeah.
Okay, so now that the show is coming back, what is it that you would want people to know? If this was your opportunity now, Heather and I are giving you a soapbox, I guess, in some way. Just what would you want people to know about the show this time around?
The show has the format is basically the same. I do regional specials. I have co-hosts. I kind of do genre specific shows. Like I did the grinding speed metal one, which is awesome. So I still have like these themes and stuff like that. I think I needed that break to kind of get an idea of like who I was and what I was going to do with the show. And I definitely feel like a lot more confident on the air, scare quotes. I think that my mission to push independent artists out there has really refined over the last several months. I have an amazing just bank of music to share. Like there's just not enough time. I have so much good music to share with people. And because I, grew up in a rock and roll household, like I know how to hear music. I know how to listen to music and I can tell you why something is good, And so, I think that's been really refined for me over the last couple of years. I think I've gotten a lot better at it. And I think the one thing I'm really proud of is putting together a weird show very successfully. Like we can start with, some like obscure kind of rock and roll band like the Trudy and end with like Antagonista and it'll totally make sense. Right? Totally makes sense. So I have, and I credit that wholly from being raised on KALX in Berkeley, which is an underground radio station at UC Berkeley. And it's very eclectic. Like you can have, Bach and Motorhead literally in the same set of music and it'll still make sense. So that's always been like a talent of mine, something that really came to me. And so my shows are all over the map with genre. And so like the show is really for people who love music. If you're just someone who's only into thrash, you're probably not going to really like my show because you're not going to only get thrash. You'll get a lot of thrash, but you're also going to get, weird like Viking folk music, you know what I mean? And post-punk and solo projects and one human bands and black metal and, punk rock and just straight up rock and roll or straight up heavy metal and psychedelic stuff. And it's going to be weird and it's going to be awesome and noise and all of these things. So I really kind of pride myself on being able to sort of eschew genres in that way where like I think that sets the Whizbanger show apart from most podcasts and most radio shows is that pretty much almost every genre is included in there. I've even played country music before. Probably not going to hear any new metal. I mean, there's definitely some stuff that I really like. I don't like, but for the most part, but yeah. who knows? You could hear Cake on my show. I don't know. Whatever. It's like they do an awesome cover of I Will Survive. So I have played that on my show before. So, but I do think that that's an area that I'm pretty proud of about the show, is that it really does, like, even if I have a Doom specific show, there's going to be adjacent things, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, in this, sometimes I think about how there's missing components these days that don't exist as much anymore. Um, when you would go to the record store, and there would be a wiser person there who could recommend music to you. Um, I think you're sort of filling that void in this day and age, in the digital age, where you need. I'm thinking there's a quote from a movie called Burnt with Bradley Cooper. He's a chef, and his nemesis says to him, "You're better than me, but we need people like you to lead us to places we normally wouldn't go." So it's sort of like, if you're a fan of music, but you're looking to spread your wings a little bit, Sara Whizbanger is going to take you there. Um, and not only that, she'll like you said, she'll help you develop an appreciation in ways you didn't know possible.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I
Sure.
appreciate that. I didn't think about that, because that's totally how I've like used to buy books and used to buy music in record stores. You find there's this great bookstore. I don't think it's there anymore in Berkeley, called Dark Carnival, and it might still be there. Gosh, I don't know. But I used to go there when I was a teenager, and I would just walk in and be like, "Can I have a book?" And they would just give me books, and that's how I ended up with Parable of the Sower in my life. And then I ended up teaching that book for like 20 years. I still teach that book. Or Geek Love. That's how I got Geek Love. I got some of the best books I've ever read by walking into Dark Carnival, just holding my hands out and be like, just give me something. And they would just give me great books. And the same thing with record stores. I remember going to Rasputin's, and I used to work at Tower Records in the 80s. So that's how Dwight Yoakam came into my life, was Tower Records in the 80s. And I love Dwight Yoakam. So, but yeah, going in, it's like, my friend Orlando used to work at Amoeba, and I would just go in and talk to him, and he'd like, "You should try this." And sure. Yeah. I mean, I think I've always, like I said, I grew up in a musical household. My dad's a rock and roll musician and still tours. He's actually got a tour in July and August. He's going to be in the UK. So I grew up with rock and roll. I grew up with blues. I grew up with like a lot of outlaw country. I grew up with, kind of boogie woogie and New Orleans jazz and stuff. And so like, that was always that's like part of my DNA. And I think I've always listened to everything. Just like not a whole lot that I don't listen to. So thank you for that. I love that.
My
I
pleasure.
think it's fun. Myself personally, I think it's fun learning about all the different genres of music, and kind of, I think your show in particular is a really great way to kind of expand your horizons and kind of dip your toes into other genres that you might not normally listen to. But that's the discovery of the new music, I think, is one of the most exciting things.
It is. It's so much fun, and I get to do that all the time. It's like that's basically what I spend my day doing. And then every now and then there'll be some band like Maggot Heart, and I'll listen to like one of her songs, and then before I know it, I'm like, God, just an hour and a half has gone by. I've listened to this album 3 times now. Like, and that's what happens. Some of the stuff, and then that's when you have something special, when there's a band that you listen to, just it doesn't get turned off. You just keep listening to it, and suddenly you're just like furiously at work and getting all kinds of things done.
Yeah. It's fun. Yeah. Life. You're I think that's one thing that you and I have in common is growing up with music, because my dad's a musician as well. So
Yeah, I remember you talked about that before. That's right.
yeah. So just growing up with just constantly having music and musicians around constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. That interesting. It makes for a very interesting childhood, that's for sure.
That's one way. That's one word to describe it. Yeah.
My father was an accountant, so I didn't get to eat.
Accountants can rock and roll too. It's all right.
Well, he would come home, and at the end of the day, the two artists that he would listen to would either be the Doobie Brothers or Anita Baker.
Oh, I love Anita Baker. Oh my god.
We would listen to, I guess, her greatest hits to the point where I still remember it. Yeah. So yeah, I kind of understand what you're saying, like from the opposite end of the spectrum about the creativity that I'm sure was flowing through the house. Whereas for me, it was much less varied. But it's nice to know that you're
still there.
Yeah, well, it was still there, but it's nice to know that for both of you. I think you're bringing, that sort of creative eye to it from that perspective of growing up with such an exposure to music.
Mm-hmm.
So,
plus I think we all have a lot of empathy for musicians, and it's not an easy, it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to be a musician, and I think we have a lot of empathy for that. So I think that kind of comes through our shows as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think it's like I mildly play the piano, and I finally, I used to sing when I was a kid, and then life happened and children and whatever, career. But I've just started doing it again, started singing again. And so now I'm singing, and it's been really cool. But like, I performed with my dad in New York last year, and just like at a jam session that they do every week. And it was terrifying. And I just get nervous around people. Make me nervous just regularly, I just, no reason. I just get nervous around people. But I think it's really important to remember like how raw it is and how raw it feels to put your art out there. When I've had art shows before, like, because I do collage art and I'm a poet and I've read my poetry in public, and I've had my art up at a show, and it's like you look at it and then people are listening to you or they're looking at your art, and you just want to like, of course you want the compliment or feedback or whatever, but then it's like they're looking at like such an exposed part of you. And I think we forget, like, musicians do this work because they love doing it, but I think it's really easy to forget how raw it is and how brave an act it is to be an artist that shows their work in some capacity. And so absolutely empathy for these wonderful people, and like a deep appreciation, because without music I would die. Like I can't take medication for the things that I have challenges with, for mental health challenges that I have. So I exercise, I do yoga, and I listen to music. And without that, I don't think that I would be able to function. So to me, this is a really important act of volunteerism that I do to get people's music out there, because that's how I can pay for it, right? Like that's what I do for my community, is to get the music out there, to get the art out there, to, you just want to like grab people by the shoulders and be like, no, but you have to listen to this band. They're so good. You don't even understand. But it
Yeah.
is, it's like so fundamental to like the core of who I am. And this just seems to me like the best way to give back.
Yeah.
Since I can afford to like, make everybody a millionaire.
I 100% agree with everything that you just said. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, music heals, man. And we want that to keep going.
Yeah.
Because there's these bands that are just kind of like, whatever happened to Whiskey Ritual? Because I've only ever heard that one album and they're not, why are they not put anything out? And just, I need more of that. They're
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
sometimes I just, or Terrifiant, that's another band that I just, my daughter and I listen to it and we just start laughing because it just brings so much joy. We both love this. They're Terrifiant. They're from Belgium. They're amazing. They've had one album. That's it. They're just like, there's something about this band for me where I just, I get like heart palpitations on my daughter. I played it for my daughter once and, yeah, she loved it. She's the same way. We just start giggling because it makes us because we love the singers so much. We just love the music so much, and they do this great cover of Pat Benatar's "Heartbreaker." Unreal. It's so good. It's so good. So that's to me that's therapy because I'm getting like it's a mood change. It's changing my mood. It's changing my DNA,
Yeah.
and it's making me ultimately a better person because I'm not depressed.
Yeah.
And making everybody else miserable with me.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what we're all striving for is to try to be better people.
Yes, indeed.
So yeah. Yeah. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
I would really like to have both of you one at a time on my show. Because I think that, yeah, I mean, it's cool that like I'm on and I love this. I love what you guys do. I'm so glad it persisted. Because I know for a minute it was kind of like, are we going to keep doing this? So I'm really glad that you kind of went for it and kept going. But I think, when I had you on my show, Heather, it was just very different because the spotlight was on you. And so I don't know. And we still have to do that. We should do that horror soundtrack one we had planned to do.
Oh yeah.
We should do
Yeah.
that. But I think it
Yeah.
would be really interesting. Andrew, I always wanted to talk to you about your writing and stuff like that. So I think it'd be cool to have each of you on my show, like as just not the co-host, but like for a video, like for an interview. So I want that. So I'll reach out to you guys because I think that would be really fun.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I
Sounds
have a
good.
question for you guys before I go.
Okay.
Best new band each of you has been listening to a lot.
Andrew.
So you,
Okay. Oh, you know what? Take best out of there. Just a new band each of you have been listening to.
a
Take some
new
pressure
well, let's see. I would say Slow Green Thing. They have a new album coming out. They're from Dresden, Germany. They're really good. Heather and I had we reviewed their music a bunch of episodes ago, and I sort of got hooked on them. They're great stoner doom. Really
I'm
cool.
all over it.
Yeah.
That's so funny because like I don't hit every single one of your shows, but whatever I do, it's always like, oh yeah, I know this band or this. So yeah, okay, Slow Green Thing. I'm gonna look for it. Heather.
Yeah. They're awesome. They're not new, but
Doesn't
they're
have
not
to be.
new.
When I'm talking about Whiskey Ritual and Terrifiance and Maggot Heart, none of them are new.
Yeah. But Hail the Boy, you probably know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're good. Yeah, I think
Oh
I've
my
played them
gosh.
before actually.
When their album came out, I was just like blown away. I was blown away. They're so good. They're so, so good.
I don't think I got a promo for what's the new album called?
Memento, what is it? Andrew, can you look it up?
Yeah.
Like Memento Mori?
Maybe I did. That sounds familiar.
Well, I think what I don't remember I think they made it into the 2023 Doom charts for the year.
Yeah, they were like on the best, like the
Yeah.
best, one of the best albums of the year.
Memento Mori came out in 2023.
Okay. I'll look it up.
So,
I probably have it.
It's so good. It's so, so good.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's like the kind of music that I really relate to is music that makes me feel something,
Yeah.
and that's one of the albums that really, when you listen to it, it has a lot of emotion, and
I
that's
probably have it. I think I might have it.
yeah, I seem to relate to that music a lot more.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Well, and I will. I don't know about Heather, but I will have to check out Terrifiance after, because we haven't. I don't think Heather and I are usually pretty good about trying to cover the world geography in terms of bands from different countries. I'm not sure if we've listened to someone from Belgium recently, so this would be a great.
Yeah, someone suggested that I do a show on Botswana, do like a regional show on. There is like a lot of metal that comes out of Botswana, but yeah, that's definitely an area that I need to improve on. I mean, I think last week I covered 5 continents, which was awesome. But because I had a band from New Zealand and another one from Australia. So that's one, and then North America, South America, Europe, and Asia. So that was awesome. That was cool. But I definitely there's definitely regions, because I really like doing like the regional specials. And so in the Americas, I've done Canada, Mexico, and Argentina, and then I've done Japan, a couple of Japan shows, and then I've done a couple Spain shows, and there's another European, France, and then another. But yeah, I really want to do. That's an area that I need to improve on, is more bands from Asian and African countries, because I know there's that's a big miss. That's a big miss for me. Part of it is I get my music where I get my music, from the PRs and the labels, but I want to be better about seeking that out more purposefully. So that's a goal that I have for this year for sure.
That's good. That's a good goal to have. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and speaking with us.
Thank you.
And good luck with everything. I wish you the best.
Yeah, definitely. It's onward and upward with the Whizbanger show.
Thank you, and onward and upward for Happy Hour with Heather and Guess.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to reach out to both of you, so I will do that and get you on the Whizbanger show on the YouTube channel. Ask you some goofy questions.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm sign off. Bye.
Bye.